Well, here we are. Tooth and Claw. Shall we introduce ourselves?
Yes, why not? I'm Simon Winstone, the script editor on this episode.
I'm David Tennant. I'm playing the Doctor.
And I'm Derek Riddell, and I play Sir Robert. And this is my first viewing of this, so bear with me.
Yeah.
Let me get over the shock.
I have seen a rough cut of this. This is the first time I've seen the finished one, but it has the most extraordinary opening of...
Oh, yeah, I'm intrigued to see this.
Yeah. He's got a scary face, Ian Hanmore, hasn't he?
You wouldn't trust that monk.
That is a proper scary face. He's the gentlest man in the world. He looks so scary.
Yeah, there's going to be trouble afoot with him, I think.
Yeah. Something's wrong.
But Ron hasn't sensed it yet.
I don't think this is quite where you expect this is going to go.
Okay.
I love this.
Oh, hello.
Splash of colour.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, suddenly.
The joy of high-speed cameras.
Gone yourselves!
Fantastic.
On the rough cut I saw, this had big Tarantino music over the top of it, but I suppose we've had to replace that with something we can afford to clear.
Just another normal day in the Scottish Highlands.
Absolutely. We all do jiu-jitsu classes at school in Scotland.
Oh, I'm just
There he
minding my
is.
own business. And,
Right in the
so
cupboard.
well
Look at that. It was great on this to suddenly be surrounded by Scottish actors. It was like being back home. Tom Smith's in the cage, who I went to drama school with.
Tom Smith.
All right. Oh, we don't get to see him.
All right.
Yeah, that's the reaction he usually gets. Unfortunately. Did you know that when it's going through a blue tunnel, it's going back in time, and when it's going through a red tunnel, it's going forward in time?
No.
There you
I
go.
didn't know that.
I just learnt that recently.
Well, we've been having all manner of chats about that recently.
Oh, have we? Are we not quite sticking to that necessarily?
No, we are. It is something that we occasionally forget, and then we remember again.
Right.
But it's all perfect.
Has that always
Good.
been the case?
Yeah, no.
Throughout all the series?
Throughout
Like all the colour
most
series.
recent series.
Just the
yeah.
most recent
Yeah,
one, right.
Yeah. Now, originally in this this track here was a Lena Lovitch track.
It was indeed.
What happened with that, Simon?
I believe there might have been clearance issues.
What is it now?
Ian Jury and the Blockhead.
Oh, right, that's right.
He's obviously cheaper.
He's British.
He's British. Oh, that's
we
is
have-
Lena. Where's Lena Lovitch from?
I think she's American.
Right.
But certainly British, anything that's either British artist or British record company is much easier to clear worldwide because we have to clear it.
Sounded strangely Eastern European, Lena.
Yeah. Obviously, I'd never heard of Lena Lovitch. I had to find out who that was, but Ian Jury, I
Really?
remember growing
Was
up
that not
with.
your time? I remember that.
Lena Lovitch,
My
you
Lucky
remember?
Numbers one.
Top
yeah.
Rank is a genuine nightclub in Sheffield.
Is it?
Period, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh. It's the ever reliable TARDIS.
Eros and Rory, Eros the director and Rory the director of photography on this episode, they shoot the TARDIS very differently to the way we'd done before. It was always very green and red before, and they've made it much more golden. I quite like it. I like that. This was our first day on top of this freezing cold hillside. Jamie Sevis on a horse. He was very good with the horses, wasn't he?
He was.
He's a bit of a horseman on the quiet. Now, there's a bit coming up here, actually, where Russell called me when he was writing this episode. There's a bit where the Doctor's about to pass himself off as Dr. James McCrimmon. And he phoned me up and he said, because often when the Doctor lands in England, he passes himself off as Dr. John Smith.
Right.
As a kind of, it's a running story. And Russell said, if you landed in Scotland, what would be the kind of the kind of everyman name that he would use. What would he call himself? And I couldn't really come up with anything.
But it was handy you had a Scottish accent that you could call
Yeah,
him, wasn't it?
of course. That helped. Just get that out of the bag. Yeah. But
It's very good.
so he said, what should we call him? And I couldn't come up with anything, a sort of everyman Scottish name. The only thing I could come up with was Jock Tamson. You know, we're all
Right.
Jock Tamson's bairns, which
yeah.
is a kind of Scottish phrase. I think John Thompson, was a reverend in Scotland, and his congregation were Jock Tamson's bairns, and we're all Jock Tamson's bairns, meaning we're all God's children. Something we say in Scotland. Anyway, that wasn't really what he was after. And of course, 2 days later, he phoned me up and said, no, of course, the Doctor lands of
Jamie.
Scotland. He'd call himself Jamie McCrimmon,
Right.
who was one of his
Fraser
travelling
Hines.
companions back in 1960.
Fraser Hines, wasn't it? Yeah.
Fraser
Really?
Hines. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
No, there you go.
There's Pauline.
That was quite a dull story. If anyone's still awake, we're now...
Pauline Collins is Queen Victoria.
Yeah, which is much more interesting than Jock Tamson's bairns. Great bit of casting, Pauline Collins, for this, I think.
She was great. Very good laugh.
Yeah. Very twinkly. She loved a good swear. There's something very funny about Pauline Collins dressed up as Queen Victoria swearing her head off.
With her trainers on. If I
Yeah.
remember quite a lot of the time.
Yeah. So windy and painful, this location. Billy in that tiny little dress.
She must have been freezing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a plot point. Those hills in the background were added later, I think, by the mill.
Mm-hmm.
Make it look a bit more Scottish, as we were very firmly in Wales at this. Which hillside were we on, Simon? Do you...
I cannot remember, I
No,
must confess.
neither can
But it
I.
does look, I mean, the ground looks very Scottish.
It does look very Scottish, yeah. It was certainly cold enough.
And certainly the weather in the next scene, if I remember rightly, the rain was very Scottish as well.
particularly Scottish.
Although I think somebody said you can't see it very well, but I remember
You can
it was
see
really
it.
chucking
You can
down.
see it.
And obviously that telescope was
Yeah.
added later, I believe.
It was, yeah. You traitor.
I know.
Now you've got a scary butler.
Oh no. Not devoured.
How are you watching yourself for the first time? Is it
Horrible.
always a painful experience. I find it loathsome myself. Not watching you, that's lovely.
But no, this is the scene. It was absolutely
It
chucking
was
it down.
bucketing down.
And
yeah.
this is my first scene. I was like, oh,
You
don't
can't
muck,
see
don't
it.
muck it up, you know. Don't get found out.
They always say that, don't they? Whenever it's bucketing with rain, your camera crews go, oh, I won't read on screen. But you can see it there. You're a handsome man. Look at
Thanks
that.
very much. Flattery will get you everywhere.
The Torchwood Estate.
First
That's
mention,
another plot
yes.
point, isn't it?
Well, the second mention in the series, I think.
Yeah. It was weird doing this in a Scottish accent because I'd got so used by this stage. This was about the fourth episode we filmed, and I'd got so used to slipping into the Doctor's voice that suddenly having to speak in my own voice became much more difficult than you would imagine it would be.
Okay, well, this is the arrival, obviously, of the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which we will discover later on has been cut at length by Prince Albert, with particular reasons. In fact, the Koh-i-Noor was cut down massively from the largest diamond in the world, and there was considerable disgust at actually how much they cut it down by, and Prince Albert was livid, apparently.
Oh, so Prince Albert didn't commission the cutting down?
No, it was commissioned. Well, he oversaw it, and obviously that's something that we've built on here as part of the sort of wolf-based mission that the story's about. But in fact, he was, well, certain reports say that he was not pleased with the cutting of it, and he thought that it was overdone because it's considerably. I think it's only about half the size of the original diamond after the cutting.
Right. Where is it now?
I believe
British
it is-
Museum or something, is it?
I think it's with the Crown Jewels. It's in
Right.
in the Sceptre or something like
Oh,
that.
is it? Is it? Right.
Here we are.
Oh, no, it's actually, no, I think it's something to do with, it's in the Queen Mother, something to do with the Queen Mother's jewellery, I think, possibly.
Right.
But it is, yes.
Well, she's not got much use for it anymore, is she?
Most probably.
This was a great set, this.
Yeah. I remember seeing it for the first time. It was very impressive.
Built in our Newport warehouse. The TARDIS was just off to the left.
It was beautiful. We, in fact, did talk to a proper astronomer about exactly how a telescope light
really?
work, which is why you have the mention of prisms, because obviously light is bounced around and refracted within, and there are too many prisms within the actual sort of chamber of the telescope itself, which is why you can't see out through it.
Right,
Because
right.
it's a way of focusing and concentrating light within. That's making great scientific sense.
I think it does. I think one of the great things about this script is the way all the loose ends are
It's
very
come
neatly
together.
tied up in the end in a way that I don't think you'd be expecting. I certainly wasn't expecting the first time I read it. It's one of my favourite scripts that we've done. I think this, and
I think it
I think
was-
Russell dashed it off as well, didn't he? It just
it
all
was.
poured out of him in a week or so.
And it sort of arrived and everyone just went, ooh.
It arrived fully formed, and we just started filming it. Yeah.
It was, yes. I mean, it's amazingly fast, but considering it's quite contained in where it is,
Yeah.
the movement is brilliant, and it's terrifying.
And it was time to have a werewolf in Doctor Who. I think. I don't think it had ever been done since 1963. So it was due a go.
No, I don't think they have.
Scary butler stopped me from telling my story.
Is this looking like you expected it to look, Derek?
Yeah, I think so. It's been quite. I mean, when did we film this? It was October. Was it October?
September, October,
September,
something like
October,
that. Yeah. We're now, as we sit here recording this today, it's March 2006. 1 week of filming left to go, and the series starts transmitting in just over a fortnight.
Indeed.
So this will be the week 2, of course. There was talk at one point of changing the order of the episodes
Yes,
around,
well,
making
then-
this episode 1, wasn't there?
Yes, there have been. There were discussions, but it's. I think it works best as it is.
Yeah.
I think going historical. I think it's nice to get people into it a bit first before we go back in time. And that's obviously the mistletoe remedy, which also actually does work scientifically within.
Does it? What
yes,
you mean scientifically with a real werewolf?
Well, actually, if you think, because I did research this, and actually one of the properties of mistletoe is it's an anticonvulsant. It's used actually in medicine, and there was talk about using it within as a treatment for epilepsy and various things. And actually, you could say that what the host goes through in that convulsing
it's
type
an-
of movement
Oh,
is,
nice.
in fact.
Nice.
Well, I say that's.
Oh,
we
yeah.
look into every detail.
You do
on
get,
this show.
you do earn your money, don't you? Oh, there's wee Ruth, who celebrated her 18th birthday
That's right.
during the filming of this episode. This was her first telly job, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think she did. Was she not in the youth theatre at Lyceum in Edinburgh? or
That was
something
it,
like
that was
I think
it, yeah.
stuff she'd done.
I guess they went up to Scotland to have a
She
wee
also has an
look
uncanny
around.
resemblance to my girlfriend's niece, which is strange.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a nice helpful reference for all our viewers. This was HTV Studios in Wales. I don't know why we used 2 studios for this episode, but I guess when the sets start overspilling, we
Yeah.
hire out other studios.
We have limited room.
We always prefer going to HTV Studios though because they've got proper soundproofing. Whereas in the warehouse in Newport, whenever it rains, you have to stop filming. Were they Jamie's real sideburns?
They were. Like, he wouldn't come out for a drink with me in the evening. Understandably.
Yeah. Prodigious growth he's got there. Mine are looking quite anemic there.
Yeah. Mine were a bit drawn in, if I remember.
She plays this brilliantly, Pauline, I think. It's very moving. Which, of course, chimes in with all the Doctor's concerns about being the last of his race and being left alone.
And she was a woman who grieved, certainly. She did love Albert. And I think shortly before this she had lost another of her daughters as well.
Ah. I think, but what's great about how Pauline plays it is she's got all that kind of grief going on, but also has a bit of a twinkle, which is a bit unexpected from Queen Victoria.
Yes, I don't think you'd want just somebody constantly wearing black and being
No,
grumpy.
it'd be very dull.
I think that's the thing that I loved most about it, the fact that Russell just gets her running around.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, oh my God, it's Queen Victoria, and she's looking it down the
Tom
corridor.
with his scary eyes.
Oh, scary
no.
eyeballs!
It's the first time I've seen them. Oh,
But of course that makes it quite difficult to cast, because to get a lady of those years who's still robust enough and game enough to run up and down endless corridors, we were very, very lucky to get Pauline.
Hence the trainers, I assume.
Yeah, hence the trainers that were usually under the folds of crinoline.
You see, this was also scientifically researched.
Yeah, sure.
That kind of creature would need one child in the generation.
Well, I'm glad you looked into that.
Indeed.
I remember when we were at the read-through when Tom suddenly came out with this scary wee voice.
that's right.
Scared the bejesus out of everyone.
Yeah.
I was at drama school with Tom, and he always got to play these weird, strange characters. I remember he played a human baby in one thing, and he shaved all his body hair. And
Was he asked to, or was it just...
I don't know. Well, you know, it's drama school. You do that kind of thing. You're kind of showing off how far you're willing to push it. And he came on stage, kind of doing this weird, twitchy kind of human baby thing. It was very peculiar. He's very good at all that.
I think it might all kick off a bit soon.
I like that you saw the Doctor there getting very excited at the fact that there was a werewolf. There's a nice sense of him and the Doctor and Rose just having a really good time through this episode, really enjoying the fact that they're coming across all these extraordinary things, and as they're getting to know each other again, you know, the new Doctor and Rose coming to terms with that. They're sort of falling in love again, I suppose.
I also love that, is that kind of the fact that she's so up for talking to the host, and she has no fear. It's not kind of a companion going, scary thing.
No, she's really come on a journey, hasn't she? Which is very important, and particularly for series 2, Rose's journey is a big part of it. Where she ends up at the end of the series is very different to the Rose that we saw back at the beginning of series 1.
Nice. Scottish dentistry. Moved on a bit, but not much.
Not much, no.
I was going to mention that, but I thought, well, you two.
Yeah, we'll make the Scottish jokes. Thanks very much.
So this is me trying to give the Doctor a hint here.
Yeah.
It's very subtle.
Yeah. Like...
Obviously, the Latin he's saying is also accurate.
What does it mean? Go on, 50 points if you can
I think
remember.
it's Lupus. The wolf is great.
Right.
I think it's Lupus Magnus.
Wolf is God. Lupus Magnus is. Lupus Deus is.
Oh, so it was.
Lupus
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
something else.
Lupus.
Well remembered, Derek.
He doesn't look well, does he?
He does. He's about to get worse any second. He's taking his summit off as a bad sign.
Yes.
Oh, you haven't seen this? God,
No, I
you
haven't seen
all the
it.
effects here. This is very exciting.
It's wind machine-tastic down there.
Billy had to re-record a line here when she says, that means you, your ladyship. It was coming. I can't say what it was sounding like, but it was saying like, that means you, your lady. You can imagine. So that had to be re-recorded and dubbed in later. Oh. There he goes.
Oh, hello. Oh, that's fantastic.
It's
Isn't that
really
good?
clever. It was done by somebody in France, wasn't it? The wolf.
There was some French thing, yeah.
It's very good with hair.
Yeah.
It's that kind of speciality.
That's
thing.
always the
Hair's
thing
really
with computer
hard.
graphics, isn't it? I'm sure the Mill can tell you more about that than we can, but I know there's always a problem with hair and computer graphics.
Oh, is it? Difficult to
It's
do.
Really,
I
you
think
have to
so.
do one at a time.
Yeah.
Millions of them.
Oh, wow, look at
It's
that.
just
There he goes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Sweet
In fact, all the dialogue from this scene had to be re-recorded because there was so much. There was wind machines
Wind, yeah.
blasting and all sorts of
Yeah.
things flying around the cellar at the time.
We didn't have anybody in the cage when we were doing that, did we? It
No, I
an
think it was just an empty cage,
We didn't
yeah.
have our student in our lycra body stocking.
No, we will have to talk about George the werewolf, though. Now that the werewolf has entered the
He's
arena.
out.
Yeah, we do have to talk about Josh the werewolf.
Is that his name, George?
Josh, yeah.
Josh,
Josh.
that's right.
Yeah, because obviously the werewolf isn't there when you're filming these scenes, he's added in post-production. We did have a chap called Josh who was standing in. I don't think he was ever. They didn't film Josh, did they? He was just in there for rehearsals, and for some
Yeah,
kind
maybe
of,
it was
he was
enough
some
for
kind
some
of guide,
green screen stuff
yeah,
as
some kind
well.
of green screen guide,
Eyeline things, well, didn't he?
and an
have a ball?
eyeline.
Yeah,
thing. He
so
had,
the ball
so
on
we
his
had this
head.
guy. He was in a skin tight outfit, and I mean skin tight
Yeah.
outfit.
Was-
With a large stick on his head,
Well,
and a
which was
ball at the end
attached
of it.
to what, like a skateboard helmet,
Yeah,
wasn't
he
it?
had a skateboard
So
helmet
that was very
with a stick
frightening.
on a big green ball on the top of it. That was our eye line, the big green ball on the top
Yeah.
of Josh's head. But he was in a very, very tight outfit. And
Unnecessarily tight, do you think?
he was, well, without going into too much
I'm not
detail,
gonna say anything.
he was intimidating the men on the set. I think we can euphemistically
That's a
call it
great
that.
euphemism.
He was.
And he didn't look anything like that.
He didn't look anything like that. But he was. Yes, he was a big boy. Have I said too much? Can we get away with that on this commentary? I'm sure Josh won't mind. He had 3 jumpsuits as well. He had a black one and a green one and a white one.
And in between takes, he had that big kind of blue baby grow thing that he wandered about in.
That's right. I can't remember why
really
he
quite
wore
bizarre.
the different colours at the different times.
Yes.
There was, again, it was something to do with keying in the CGI elements
Blue
and all
and green
that.
screen and
Green screen,
off
white
black,
screen,
yeah.
black screen, something like that, yeah. This was fun.
Yeah,
Going
we
in a
better
big
get back to
hall.
the story.
Yeah. There he goes!
Oh, that's right.
Remember-
Oh, I just missed that.
Yeah.
Classic
Ron
never
Donahue
get cocky about a
getting
werewolf.
queefed into the rafters. I saw Michelle not long ago playing Princess Diana in that thing about Charles and Camilla.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I did see her on the tube the other night.
Oh.
I was drunk coming off the Northern Line, and there she was.
Another pertinent detail from yourself.
Keep forgetting where I am. And this is the day I remember we basically spent the entire day running up and down these stairs.
Yeah, yeah. Pauline in her trainers. She went on her face a couple of times, and she had all these huge skirts.
That's right.
And she tripped over them a couple of times, but she was very game. She never bothered her.
We nearly had the Sir Francis Drake moment there, didn't we? As I remember.
Yeah.
Which is one that wasn't immaculately researched.
Ah, what was that?
The original.
It originally said Sir Francis Drake.
Yeah.
Until I said, wasn't it Sir Walter Raleigh? They put the cloak over the puddle. That's Sir Francis
You're
Drake.
absolutely right. I remember
actually
that.
was,
Yeah.
and
A wee phone call was made, and it was amended.
I really covered myself in glory.
Well, you've done very well on all the other details, Simon. We'll let you off.
Well,
Lucky you were there, Derek, eh?
Otherwise, there would have been letters. Dear BBC.
Yeah. Oh, there would have been. Can you imagine? Yeah, we ran up and down this staircase about 53 times, all these different angles. And indeed, the camera operator running up and down the stairs too, to be the werewolf's POV.
yeah, no, she does fair rip along, doesn't
She belts along, Pauline, yeah. That's a great shot. Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah.
There
Nice
it
shot,
is.
Jamie.
Yeah. It's not going to do you any good, though.
All right, easy.
Very odd. That's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Oh.
Not going to end well.
Who do you
is it?
think's going to win?
Oh, it's not looking good, is it? No luck.
Ooh.
Oh, that's definitely a very good tearing sound.
Yeah, do you not
You can-
remember
you can
that
hear the bud.
I'd done my death the day before, and then I was, had Jamie doing his death, and I was, his screams, I think, completely overshadowed mine.
You were very jealous of his screams, weren't you?
Yeah.
We're now out of studio. This was a location, this room, and it was a genuinely very posh room full of antiques, which almost makes you nervous when they allow a film crew in there.
Be very careful.
That's a great shot.
It is.
Hee hee. Well, we try to be very careful, but
Somebody could trip on those carpets quite easily.
Yeah.
all these old chairs and
Yeah.
we spent a long time working out the jigsaw of the furniture on the doors. Do you remember?
That's what I was laughing at.
Yeah.
I just remembered. You get the...
You take the bench.
And
No,
then
the
you
bench.
get
That bit of the bench
you
goes
get
there.
the big spear and
Yeah.
jam it in there, and it'll look like it'll keep a wolf out.
Yeah, if it doesn't fall over. I think I'm right in saying that suit of armour that we just saw also made an appearance in the TARDIS costume room in the Christmas Invasion.
I hope you're right in saying that.
I hope
It's a
I'm
ni-
right in
it's a
saying
nice-
that. As I've
it's
said
a
it
nice
now, and somebody
retake.
can check it. But I'm pretty sure it's a wee reused prop. All right.
Yeah. Another fine mess you've got into.
Yeah, we're not letting you away with that.
Was it?
A little cheeky Russell.
Yeah,
joke.
was there not? Did we not change that line? There was something that we changed in it.
It was going to be about whether or not they were actually going to be bald. 'Cause
Oh, was that what I thought it
I
was?
think it was.
I thought it was that.
Or mustachioed before. I don't know.
She's not amused.
She isn't. So did you suggest the mistletoe, Simon? Was that?
No, that was obviously all Russell's.
Right.
I just explained it scientifically.
Oh, I see. You had to justify it after the event.
I have to justify everything.
I don't think all this mistletoe and not a kissing gag anywhere in the episode.
You're right.
Obviously,
You're absolutely right.
The one thing that isn't obviously mentioned in this is that actually mistletoe is not indigenous to Scotland. It's the one area of Britain that actually doesn't have very much mistletoe, which could have been another clue, but obviously.
Right.
Who'd imported all this mistletoe?
I see. I see. Yeah, yeah. We're all looking very sweaty. I suppose we have been running down a lot of corridors. I seem to look very sweaty. Everybody else has been powdered up. What's happened there? I was very keen for the Doctor to have glasses. At one point, the idea was for him to have him wearing them all the time. You know, but I think certain higher echelons decided that might be a bit annoying.
Yeah, I think I remember you had a sort of expansive collection in front of you and you're deciding which ones were going to be.
I think we decided by this stage. I think we decided, but yeah, we did go through a few.
Which you will have seen in the TARDISode.
Yeah, just before we did this commentary, we saw the TARDISode, which is the little bit that gets sent to your mobile phone before the show each week. Is that right?
Yes, and online as well. So, which gives an insight into the arrival. Of the wolf.
You'll see that crashing to Earth, won't you?
Yes.
Well, you've probably already seen it by the time you're listening to this commentary. I like the idea of the Doctor wearing glasses. I like the idea of him being the hero for all the specky kids in school, because I was one of those specky kids, so it means a lot to me.
Well, it's that conspiracy about kind of the weapons you have, the books around you. And
yeah,
it's the mind, not just the running.
Absolutely, absolutely. There it is.
Which is obviously not the real one.
Oh,
but very similar.
I think I remember Phil, our props man, telling me they just bought it out of a hardware store. It was like
paperweight.
It came out of B&Q or something. It was. It's something you can. It's a bit of, I don't know, a garden decoration or something. But it works. Who says that? Is that a genuine quote?
Possibly not. It's just they. So,
they.
Yeah.
Where's Hazelhead?
It's near Balmoral.
Perfect. And is that? Do they really exist?
No, obviously, because then we get into trouble if we have slightly made them up.
Ah, okay. You see, obviously I would research these details if I had to know, but as the Doctor, I don't. Although the Doctor probably does know all these things for free, I guess, but anyway. The light bulb goes on. I love the way Eros uses all these shots here to sort of show the ideas all colliding at once. And I love messing with my hair in moments like this because it gives Steve, who does my makeup, a nightmare in continuity terms. I like to keep him on his toes. There he is. Oh. Yeah.
Good legging it. You're careful with all the furniture as you...
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
There was a whole sequence here where I got pulled back into the room, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it was very good. It was very good comedy
I was
stuff.
doing my filibuster Keaton.
Exactly. It's gone.
The door getting yanked back and yanked back and yanked back, and it's all been
that
cut.
was close.
Whoa, straight in there.
Exactly.
No hanging about. Want another one?
I know. No tongues. It's Victorian times.
Yes.
I'm sure they used tongues
After
in
the joke
Victorian
about the
times.
manservants earlier on.
I'm not going to see my wife again.
That's it, you don't see her again,
I
do you?
don't, I think.
Do you think you knew that at that moment?
Yes, I think I knew I was going to
think
sacrifice myself.
it is a farewell kiss. That wolf is just amazing.
Oh,
Here we go. If you catch my
falling
drift.
on Excalibur.
Now, can I outdo Jamie Simmons' screams?
If he'd done his death first, do you think would it really have made you pump this up a bit more?
I don't know. I've got to see it first. See what it sounds like.
Competition.
Exactly.
So
Oh, nice.
you do look braver, obviously, just
Yeah.
having a sword.
You
rather
do
than
look
getting-
braver, yeah.
Yeah. And he hasn't got one, so obviously I stand a chance.
You're weighing up those odds.
He hasn't got a sword. Oh, yeah.
It's good. You see, it's
Like something from Braveheart there, wasn't it?
that's great. Oh no, that's perfect. That death.
I love all these cranks and the practical. There was such a beautiful set.
It was exhausting because, of course, that thing spun completely freely. Me and Billy spent an afternoon pretending to haul at it, giving ourselves high blood pressure.
All those mime classes at drama school came in handy.
Absolutely. Holding it on to the acting.
And here it is.
Ah, there's your
So
prisms.
Yes, too many prisms. See, that's the thing I'm most impressed with, your throwing ability. Look, that's
Do you think that's quite good? That is pretty good. I have to say, I think the mill stopped it, but I did get it into the pool of light, but it skittered on, but I think the mill just freezed the image there.
And Scotland have always been very good at curling.
Very good.
Anyway.
We did curling as well.
Yeah.
See it coming back to me?
Yeah. Now, do you remember, Tom? We were filming the other stuff and he was in his
pants
thong.
on the other side of the studio on a green screen.
Everybody just wandered about going to get their lunch and he's
There he is, standing
hanging
in
up
his
there
Y-front.
in his flesh-coloured thong on his last day.
Yeah. I like the way it becomes the wolf again as it goes. I remember it said in the script the host is hanging in midair. He'd be naked, which we managed to kind of sidestep really there with the effects, which is probably quite good for 7 o'clock on a Saturday night.
I think so. It was nicely, tastefully done.
Tastefully done. Beautifully done.
Yes.
I love this whole thing about the royal family and the werewolves.
Yeah. Yes. The tragic royal disease. Obviously, she would have had to have caught earlier before her children, unless she then was going to bite them all later. To pass
Ah,
it on,
yes, yes.
because she is past her childbearing.
You sure? Well, she... But then we have that line, maybe she gave them a quick nip.
Indeed,
don't we?
indeed. Oh, it's all beautifully covered.
So
in
it
the
is,
script,
well
so-
done. It's the first time we see the Doctor without a tie. Fact, fans. Just thought it would be... We didn't want it to get too much of a uniform every week, so we try and just...
And obviously, that's the slightly the actual dubbing is not quite accurate.
Oh,
Well, actually, I was talking to Debrett's Burke's Peerage, all manner of people about this. Apparently, it's much more informal.
Oh, really?
And it's remarkably undramatic.
Right.
So we thought we'd go with something that people expect more.
Right.
Because I think she just says, "You are Sir Doctor off."
Right.
Doesn't really have to do anything.
Right. Nice bit of ceremony, though, I suppose. There was a scene immediately after this, which is now cut, when the Doctor and Rose exit the house, a bit shell-shocked that this has just happened, that the Queen has just turned on them like this. And we have a moment at the doorway, kind of breathing deeply before we start finding it all hilarious and run off into the sunset. But I think the problem with it partly is it was the sunset when we came to film it, and
That's right, yeah.
that doesn't really work with the continuity into the scene that follows that. Or maybe we just weren't very good in it, I don't know. We just cut straight to this
instead. Never be
instead.
the case.
Very, very windy day here.
Yes, this is where you're discussing the haemophilia option and whether or not Queen Victoria actually was
Yeah.
haemophiliac. And obviously women actually can't be haemophiliacs. They can only be carriers, and we're assuming she was a carrier, though it's never actually been proven, and obviously. Though a suspicious amount of her male children did turn out to be haemophiliacs.
Well, you'll get a couple of letters about that. I hope you're ready for the onslaught.
Indeed.
We had to re-record the dialogue in this scene later because the wind was just howling across the microphones by this stage.
So this must have been back to like one of the first days of filming this.
It was.
Yeah.
In fact, this was the end of a day. You can actually see it's quite late in the day, and we were chasing to get this done before the light went. Although it's quite nice that there's almost a dusky feel to it.
Shot.
Yeah.
The jaunty angle of the TARDIS. I think it looks...
I always liked those lines. Great way to finish it.
And there we go. Oh, now back. I believe actually, I think possibly it's one of the few things that did change in the original. That was, this end scene was the first time we saw the mention of Torchwood. It wasn't actually mentioned
Right.
in the body, and it was sort of a reveal that we're going to set up this organisation and we'll name it after this house. And then we'd see the sign for Torchwood. But we thought it was probably better to see
Feed
it
it
a bit
in
earlier,
early.
because obviously we've already mentioned it before. And at the end of the series, it will all fall into place.
It will, yes. This all sets the events that culminate in episodes 12 and 13 are set in motion here.
Right.
You'll see lots of little mentions of Torchwood in the following episodes, and all the chickens come home to roost in episode 12. And then, of course, Torchwood the series.
Yeah, that's
begins.
what I was going to say. That's the name.
With John Barrowman and Eve Miles.
And there we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
that was the end of the episode. Oh, and here's episode 3. The return of
Tony Head.
Sarah Jane and Anthony Head as the evil headmaster.
And the metal dog.
And the metal dog.
And
Liz Sladen
Yes.
as Sarah Jane. That's Krillatine.
Yeah.
And there's K9. Oh, yes.
K9 Mark III, I believe.
K9 Mark III, indeed.
he looked quite scary as well.
The Krillatines?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That would be your name.
There's me. There's Derek.
This way. And
I'll be popping along later.
You don't get, do you not get capitals? That seems a bit of a shame.
I think they're not very keen on script editors,
You
really.
want to get that in your contract for next year. Capitals in the closing titles.
yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Yes, that was fun.
I'd just like to point out that Julie Gardner's challenge for this commentary was to include the word Excalibur, which I think I get 50 points for.
I did think it was slightly odd at the time.
It was
but,
peculiar. I realised we were about 38 minutes in, and I had to get on with it.
And I just remembered I picked up a sword before we started.
That was just chancing my arm.
Oh.